Hello, all you tea-timey terrapins. Welcome back to Turtle Tea Time. It's me, Mel, and I'm joined once again.
Bye? Yes, hello, it's me, Katherine.
And we are here to talk about the fourth Gamera movie on today's podcast. We managed to sync back up to the proper schedule month thing, so that's nice. What has been a month now? Has it been a month? I guess it's been a month now since recording.
Yeah, it's been like 3-ish weeks plus.
It does. I think we record like a few days before the 15th last time, so yeah, it's
Right.
so what have you been up to?
Let's see. Avimutica finished. Great show.
That's the biggest change since we last recorded. I think I haven't had a chance to talk about it, but I also don't know. I don't think maybe necessarily at the front of this Turtle podcast it'd be good.
No,
deep dive. There's too much to unpack.
Yes. Let's see. I finished Kuuga. I also finished my rewatch of Build.
Okay, so we're getting Kamen Rider corner here.
Yeah,
cashing in all the checks from the previous episodes.
Yes, I think I'm also like 35 episodes through Agito.
Oh yeah.
But since I'm so close to the end, we can just save Agito for next month, I think.
All right. Yeah, that's fair. But tell me about these other shows you watched.
Sure. I guess let's do Kuuga first, because that came out first. Kamen Rider Kuuga is a good show. I think there are some times where it feels a little samey, because unlike basically every other Kamen Rider I've seen, there is like zero aspect of serialization, basically.
I guess I feel
okay. That's probably being a little that might be going a little too far.
Yeah, it's definitely some of it, but it is definitely episodic too.
Yes, it is. I think it is like significantly less serialized than Agito, and like let alone anything after that I've seen.
That makes sense. Agito is pretty serialized compared to Kuuga, for sure.
Yeah, and then I feel like with Ryuki, they kind of just made that, I feel like, as far as the Kamen Riders I've seen, which is like 5 or 6, most of them are like reasonably, serial.
Yeah, I think like the early, like midish range Heisei is like it's like predominantly like not episodic, but like bi-episodic, because usually a lot of 2-episode arcs, but with a common sort of like serialized thread underneath.
Right. With Kuuga, it feels like the serialized thread is maybe a little weaker than it is everywhere else.
Yeah, and I also think like once you get past Guy, maybe the serialization kicks into overdrive, and you stop getting as many arcs in the same way. Less of the 2-part arcs.
Right. Well, we can talk a bit about that when we get to Build, but I think Kuuga's a good show. The dynamic between Yusuke Godai and Ichigo is it's pretty good. I think
Ichigo, the secondary rider who's not a rider.
Yes, exactly. I think the upside of it being like basically completely episodic is that you do get a lot of like really nice little stories about how different characters are, kind of alienated, you could say, like, sort of like broadly in like post bubble crash Japan, if you want to read it that way.
I think when I think about it, it's also significant that the show came out in the year 2000.
Right.
So I think there's probably like a bit of a Y2K vibe to it too. I do kind of, that makes sense. It's been a bit hot minute since I've seen Kuuga, but I feel like that makes sense to me. I do think I do forget a lot of the side characters in Kuuga, which I realize in hindsight, like, actually that's kind of where a lot of the sauce of Kuuga is. So it's a shame I mostly like a lot of Kuuga I remember is the vibe and like I guess like the core duo, and also the final battle, which is full of like hype and aura moments.
Yes, the final battle of Kuuga is pretty fucking sick, and then the
it's so
epilogue,
cool.
the epilogue wrap up, the epilogue wrap up thing also I think worked pretty well. Yeah, I think Kuuga is good at what it does. I think, like, depending on what your expectations are and what your framework is, having seen other writer shows, I can probably see it maybe not landing as well, because I have not seen Showa Rider, but I get the impression that Kuuga is close to, like, is the closest to Showa Rider in terms of like style and form, and
and all of that is just because it's the first Heisei Rider. So
yes,
it's kind
of
like it's drawing on the legacy of Showa Rider and has nothing else to go off of. And yeah, I don't have a lot of experience with Showa Rider myself. I've basically seen like a few episodes of Black, but otherwise I don't have as much. And I feel like I can kind of, just based off Black, because that's like the last big Black RX also happens, but that's like the last like big show, really. Black RX being a sequel, like predecessor to Kuuga. And I can kind of see, like, I guess if I'm just like, I am using this as my benchmark of Showa Rider, I'm like, oh, I kind of see how this leads into Kuuga, even if there's like a decade gap between them.
Right. So in a sense, I think if I think of Kuuga as sort of like a bridge between kind of like between Showa Rider and Heisei Rider, I think it's a pretty interesting bridge, and I think it's a good show in its own right,
Yeah.
It's weird because I don't necessarily have too much to say about Kuuga because of I guess how it's done. Like, the only way to have a in-depth conversation about Kuuga would be to what's the word? Would be to like go through the individual character, like
time
the
for
individual
the
episode.
Writer Kuuga cast gang.
Oh God! Don't tempt me! Don't tempt me!
I could not handle doing a Kamen Rider podcast alongside an Ultraman podcast.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay. All right. I guess we can talk about Build as well, which I think is a little. The movie is fucking ass.
I did see your live tweet, not your live tweet, but your media thread post.
Yes, okay. So, Kamen Rider Build, I think it was interesting coming back to Build, because when I initially watched Build, it was the first Toku thing I'd seen in my life, like, not counting Power Rangers.
Yeah.
So I was not really sure, like, what is unique to Build specifically, and what are things that I just kind of have to roll with because, like, in the genre space, right?
Yeah.
Having seen at least a few more riders since then, I feel like I have a stronger idea of like it's much easier to like notice the things that I really like about the show, but also easier to, I think, notice some of its failings.
Yeah, I could definitely imagine, like, if you've seen like only one or two writer shows, everything kind of just falls into boss baby syndrome.
Right. It was kind of hard to know what do I just have to accept as a result of being in the genre space, and like what are things that they maybe actually could have improved on a bit to make a slightly better.
Yeah, and I think also just like expanding beyond into other series can also help with that, because it is like, what are like genre conventions and what are just series conventions, versus what is just wrong with this thing.
Yes. So I think things that are really good about Build. I think out of the 5 or 6 writers shows I've seen, Sento is probably Takumi from Fives is a little bit more my type of character.
Oh, I love Takumi. He's one of my faves. Well, I guess Fives is already one of my faves, but you know.
Yeah. Otherwise, I do think that Sento is one of the best main writers. Like, probably second to Takumi for me, because I think the story is kind of deliberately framed to be mostly about him and kind of framed over his thing, which I think is generally pretty interesting. And I also think that, you know, Evolt is a great villain. He's incredibly charming. I think all the actors do a great job. He plays off Sento really well. I think on the flip side, Build sometimes has this problem where it does not know what to do with secondary writers once their initial arc is over.
You mean you don't like when the villain prime minister guy gets knocked down a peg and becomes an edgy writer guy, and then when he becomes a good guy, they don't know what to do with him, so they just give him funky t-shirts.
Yes, that stuff definitely could have been better handled. I think
that the t-shirt thing is really dumb, but I do appreciate it for the one singular gag where like Grease is venting to him, and he's just like, "Damn, this kind of a big mess, isn't it?" And then he just opens up his shirt and says, "Agreed," and then Grease just goes to him and was like, "Why'd you put that on anyway?"
Yes, from what I understand, there's a bit of a thing where like where the actor who plays him like asked the writers to like give him slightly softer traits because his daughter was scared of him.
Yeah,
which, like, I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think he was like, "Well, I'm a good guy, and I like the kids to like me, including my own kid. So please." And I can't get that. I just think their execution of it was not great.
The execution of like the last leg of Gentoku's character arc definitely needs some work. And then you have Kazumi, who they basically do not know what to do with once his initial story arc is over.
I do think also Build is like getting into like, because like in that post Gaim space, they're getting up to the Reiwa writer problem of like every side character who matters is increasingly becoming a writer.
Right.
Where it's
Build
like
is not quite there yet, but if you tell me that this gets worse from Build onwards, I can see the signs.
Like I think Build is mostly fine, but I do think Glasses Guy becoming a writer and also having the same driver as a Volt is egregious. And then I think that's probably like the first time I was like, wait, why is this guy a writer? And
yes. I know some people think Build falls off in the second half. I don't I don't think this is true. I think the second half is mostly pretty good. I don't really care about like the plot line with Sento's dad, which kind of takes up like a decent chunk of like the last stretch. But otherwise, I
Uh,
think it's pretty decent. I've heard some people think that Kamen Rider can sometimes have a finale problem, and I think Build has one of the better finales.
I think
It
it's kind of depends. Like, I feel like there is a. This could be wrong, but I feel like there is a common pattern where at least 1/3 of any given writer show isn't the best part.
right,
Um,
right.
and a lot of times it's the middle, which is fine. Um,
Yeah, with Build, I think it's a Build. I think has mostly a pretty strong middle, and then kind of deflates just a little bit before it hits the ending, and then the ending itself is pretty good. So you feel like you at
yeah,
least ended on a nice note.
I think I
Um,
think I think I think I forgot a lot of details. Like I forgot about Sento's dad entirely, but I do remember like feeling like I really liked the first stretch of builds, and like up to basically like uh Sento doing the thing and then feeling remorseful. I was like, damn, this show's hidden, and then it kind of like started to slowly lose steam for me. Um,
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I think when Sento and Takumi like merge back into one around episode like 38 or 39 or something like that, that's kind of after that, and then till the finale, there's a bit of a drop, I think. It kind of has that double Zeta Gundam structure where it kind of falls off a bit after they come back from Earth until the actual like last episode or two, which are pretty good.
yeah, that makes sense. Um,
Um, yeah, I think as far as consistency goes, I feel like probably out of the 5 or 6 riders I've seen, Kuuga is kind of operating in a different ball space, so I don't really think it's fair to count it. I think
yeah,
Ryuki and Faiz are probably the most, like, consistently interesting.
yeah, I do think like, even Vice does have a bit of a stretch in the middle where it's like not as good, but also just like there's like it's basically only the 20s, and then like from the 30s onwards it's a banger, and like before the 20s it's like a banger. So
Right, right.
um,
Ryuki, I feel like just has such a strong vision of what it wants to do that it kind of carries it through the whole thing.
I'm in a weird position where I'm like I've been far enough from some of these shows. I feel like I should revisit them, but I'm also like that's 50 episodes I could spend on shows I haven't seen, which are also 50 episodes. So it's a kind of a hard struggle because I'm like, how would I feel about Ryuki like a decade after I'd seen it, basically?
I
Um,
think okay, so I also get a lot of temptations to like rewatch shows and such things. A lot of the time, this ends up just being, oh, I end up showing the show to a friend, and that kind of ends up being a decent excuse to rewatch it.
yeah, that's probably like the best situation to rewatch a thing for me, rather than just on my own.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. But I think if it's been like 10 years since you've seen Ryuki, I think that is enough time to like justify rewatching it. Like
Yeah,
5 years plus, I think is a good enough justification time.
yeah, and I'm also like, yeah, I'm also just like, two of my favorite shows that are 50 episodes, Forza and also Heart Catch Precure. I also haven't seen in 10 years. I'm like, those are some of my favorites. I should rewatch my favorites. But, you know, I'm also like, wow, all these other shows that I haven't seen that are like 50 episodes. It's how to balance the old with the new.
Right. But yeah, I mean that's my feeling on Build. I think it's a flawed shows in spot. Um, uh, it's a flawed show in spots, but I think it has a lot of strengths, and I think at the end of those days, at the end of the day, the strengths do like pretty significantly outweigh the weaknesses.
I think it makes sense. I do think like of that era of writer, I still think of it like I think of it and go, oh yeah, that was a neat show. Unlike like Exo, which a kind of memory hold, and like I'm not as I dropped Ghost. I'm like on Drive. I mean, I remember enjoying it, but I also feel like it lost its luster over time because I was like, actually, the themes are kind of gross. And I didn't like
yes. I have heard that Drive is like peak, like cop, cop wank Kamen Rider.
Yeah, because the protagonists are police department.
Right. It's interesting because like Agito has some police characters in it, but they are like kind of like all of their plot lines are about how everybody else in the police force sucks and is corrupt.
Yeah, like the one guy in the police force who's like a really big asshole. And then like 30 episodes in the show, he kind of was just like, I'm starting to think this guy kind of sucks. He's a fucking.
I am excited to talk about Agito next time, hopefully, because I think Agito is a really good show. Mostly brackets. Okay, so here's the thing about I understand vaguely that this is a discourse topic in toku circles. Inoue has some women writing problems that I think are really they're definitely present in Vice, but I think they are significantly worse in Agito.
That's fair. He did write he wrote 2 episodes of Time Ranger, which is a Kobayashi show. Kobayashi, who's the person who wrote Ryuki.
Yeah.
Time Ranger 2000, also alongside Kuuga. But like he wrote 2 episodes of that show, and one of them was really cool, and the other one was bad because it was a weird one about women.
Oh no. Yeah, the thing is, right, I'm kind of mixed on this because while Inoue has some women writing problems, it also feels like, at least out of the early Heisei shows, he is the one who is the most likely to let a woman do anything.
Yeah, that's a double-edged sword. See, I guess he's like falls into that Tomino space.
Yeah, that's a.
I also think. Actually, I don't know if he got cut off or
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I was just like, you suddenly went quiet, and I was like, was that a connection thing, or was she just quiet?
No. I was waiting for you to finish your.
Yeah.
You were starting a thought, so I was gonna.
I think he's a lot better in Dawn Brothers, which means he has improved as a person on this issue. And you should hope he's better on this stuff in the 2020s, but it is
right.
The technically the point of view character of Dawn Brothers is the girl, so that's cool.
Oh, that is pretty sick. Agito has like a real fridging problem. It has a real sicko women brackets derogatory problem.
Yeah, it is kind of funny though that Gills just can't catch a freak though.
Yes. I don't want to talk about Agito too much, but I think the best thing about Agito, and a big part of why I have so much fun watching it, is that it feels like the 3 writers basically live in completely different shows, which is a very fun way to do the multiple writers thing.
I guess it also makes sense. It's also fun. Makes sense they do it that way because it's like each of the 3 writers is also fundamentally like different as an entity.
Right.
Even if like technically lore-wise, Gills is related to Agito, but that's not how
it
functions.
But
in
like
practice.
the framing is really different because like Gills is kind of living more in this like psychological like bio horror space, which I think is really fun. And then you have Ikawa.
I love
who's like living in a cop drama. It's good.
like Gil's has the cool henshin where you see like the white void as Gil steps beside Surreal, and then meanwhile, G3 is a really cool, unique rider because it's not a belt. He's just like a suit of armor he puts on, and he has to suit up every time, and it's cool.
And he also jobs every time.
Well, yeah, well, you know.
No, I don't believe there is a single Kamen Rider who has jobbed harder than G3.
Yeah. You're gonna also watch the movie, right?
I have not seen the movie yet, but I don't think I'm at the episode where, like, I'm in, like, 36 or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's, like, either late 30s or early 40s when the movie comes.
Right. So I think I'm, like, just before that stretch.
I'm wondering if you've got to... There's a character who shows up, I forget if he shows up in the late 30s or the early 40s.
Oh, is it Dr. Kino?
Yes, Dr. Kino!
Yes! Evolutions in online lingo have have given Kamen Rider Agito some very screenshotable lines.
I wonder how many people realize that help. We need your help, Dr. Kino, if they know.
Yes, I just got to the bit where they reveal that Kino is, like, kinda sus and that, like, he wants to be the only Agito or whatever.
Yeah, he's cool. I like him. He's
yes. He also lives in a different show, which I think is great.
Funny enough, I think it's like around the time of X-Age. Maybe it's a different show. He reappeared in a thing called Kamen Sentai Go Rider, where they got a bunch of like riders. They kind of make a bunch of riders to become a Sentai team, and he was like the Green Ranger of that team.
Okay, that's pretty fun. Let's see. Oh, I will say I had a really rough time with like early Agito. Like the first like 10 episodes or something where it's kind of just being we have Kuuga at home, the Kuuga at home. That was like real miserable. Like I was like really struggling to
It's funny because it is like they do kind of just like, oh, this is a sequel to Kuuga until they give up on that.
Yes, but I think also like formally, like early Agito feels really. It feels like they didn't. It feels like they started off just making Kuuga 2, and I don't think Agito is good at being Kuuga 2, if that makes sense. Like, those early episodes were fucking rough. I did not want to watch the show.
Yeah, I think this makes sense to me because I think I've had this conversation with other people where it's like so aside first to get to my point, you know about Hibiki, right?
Vaguely, yes.
Yeah,
like, I understand vaguely that the first half of Hibiki is this, like, grounded drama thing done by the Kuuga writer. Yes. And then at some point...
Well, I don't know if it's the writer, but, like, there's, like, a lot of the same creative voices of the Kuuga team.
Right. And then, like, in the back half, it becomes something that's a bit more akin to a traditional writer show, but it's not particularly good at it either.
Yeah. And, like, in a way it was brought in to, like, basically salvage it, because it was, like, they fired the cast, and basically was like, hey, can you steer the sinking ship? I think it's the same issue where it's, like, you know, I didn't care for the Ryuki movie, which is also by Inoue, and it's just one of those things where I think, like, the conversation I have with people is, like, Inoue is really good at writing his show and his guys, but when it comes to writing someone else's show, he's really bad at it.
Right, yes, the Ryuki movie is god-awful. Like, one of the worst Kamen Rider movies I've seen.
I made a mistake where, like, I finished Ryuki and was like, hey, I feel weird about that ending, and I probably would feel more normal about it now if I rewatched it, just because, like, I've changed as a person and what I care about. Right. But also, not helping was, like, I watched the ending of Ryuki, I was like, oh, that was a good show, I don't know, I feel weird about the ending, but we'll see how I think about it, and then I immediately watched the movie of Ryuki afterwards, and it kind of poisoned my opinion of the ending of Ryuki, and therefore I was kind of sour on Ryuki itself for a while, because I watched the movie and it kind of like poisoned how I felt about the ending of Ruki.
Right.
But
No, I think the movie is a very awful ending to Ryuki, and I'm very glad that they kind of punted that off into its own thing instead of making it the ending of the show.
yeah,
I
I also
think
think
I
I also
think
think
that Ryuki kind of has this. You could call it a problem, but in a way, maybe it's a compliment. Ryuki sort of has this thing where I think the show is like so good at like doing the thing it wants to do that there's not really any room for a movie to make any sort of meaningful contribution to
yeah,
the story.
and like by comparison, the Fives movie is pretty cool. Uh,
Yes, the Fives movie and the Fives
it's
anniversary. The Fives
yes,
anniversary movie is great. Like the
yeah.
anniversary movie of Fives is like some of my favorite Kamen Rider stuff.
Like when Inoue writes his guys, he's cooking.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't. Are you still like only like Rider mostly? With
Yeah,
Goku?
yeah, I'm still only Rider mostly. Maybe I'll try some Sentais at some point, but I would
Well,
like
well,
to.
well, first of all,
Yeah.
as the host of the Ultraman podcast, you do have to watch Ultraman and listen along to our podcast
Yes,
that you're technically
that's
on the
true.
network
That's
of.
true. That's
But now
true.
that
I
now,
gotta do that first.
now that I've gotten like the business out of the way, I could like I do think like it'd be interesting to hear opinions of like you checking out Sentai seasons by like the writers of Rider shows you fuck with. Because both
Yeah,
both Kobayashi and Inoue wrote a bunch of Sentai seasons. Kobayashi wrote a lot more Sentai seasons. Inoue has like 2. But you know,
right. What was I gonna
oh yeah.
say?
Also, just I forgot to mention. Tangential to Inoue and also Build. It is funny. Grease's actor was originally in Kiva. As just what somehow one of my favorite Rider characters, despite all odds.
That's wild. I think as far as Rider shows that like, because my partner has seen a lot of Rider shows, and they're kind of the one who's like driving me to watch a lot of these. And sometimes I'm rewatching them with another friend, but so I've basically been told that we're doing O's, we're doing Gaim, and we're doing X-Aid. So like those are like the 3 Rider shows that'll pop up in my future after I'm done with Agito.
Yeah, O's is same writer as Ruki for reference.
Yes, I do know about this.
Uh,
X-Aid seems like it has the most insane combination of premises of
yep,
all time.
yep. That's just true.
Like, and like that makes me excited to watch it because I'm like, if you combine these 2 things, you are either going to be incredible or hot garbage, and I don't know which.
Yeah. There's a couple of guys in X8 I really like. I feel like there's a lot of other guys I just could take it or leave it, but it's got some
Yes,
stuff.
I do not like X8 aesthetically. I do not like the way those writers look, but I'll get over that.
You're growing you. I think the writer of X8 also did 01 and Geats.
Oh.
Afterwards. This is just one reference. But yeah, I guess I can give some Sentai stuff on my end because I haven't done a lot. But
go for it.
Yeah, I've been picking away at the one main Sentai show I'm watching is Bokenger. For all you Power Ranger fans out there, that's Operation Overdrive, which I heard sucks.
I watched Operation Overdrive as a child, so I cannot give any like objective assessments of its quality.
I'll say it's still halfway through. It's been taking me a while to finish it. I think it's pretty fun. Not necessarily not like the highest highs of seasons I've seen, but it's super cool. It's like basically like, what if there was like a task force to deal with like cursed artifacts, and it's like belongs in a museum where it isn't going to be in the hands of evildoers, kind of thing. It's like a vehicle theme season.
Right.
For whatever reason, the Sixth Ranger is like a Belmont kind of. He's like a half werewolf demon hunter who's like gets converted into a ranger somehow. It's wild. But also, I think the last thing I'm mostly bringing up because the last thing I watched of it was like the movie, and that was kind of like it had some fun Indiana Jones vibes, which you kind of expect, because like obviously the show is based on adventure serials, and so you have like the Red Ranger's dad as a character who shows up in the movie, and like he's all dressed up in indie getup.
Yes, okay, so Operation Overdrive does have them like traveling the world to look for plot artifacts, if I recall correctly. So
yeah, that makes sense. Unfortunately, because despite their ambitions, Toei is Toei. It does seem to me that the Bokencher's version of traveling the world is just traveling to different parts of Japan.
Yeah, I kind of figured as
much. Well, I had the most disappointing version of that in Q Ranger, which was a space themed season, and it was like starts off in space as doing space opera stuff, and then like 5 episodes in they end up on Earth in Tokyo, and then spend like 15 to 20 episodes there, and I was like, what the fuck? But that goes back to space science, and it is fun. But it when I was watching the show as airing, one of the reasons I dropped it and I had to revisit it later was that I was like kind of turned off by like, what do you mean you were like, oh, we're doing the space opera show, and then we just give up being a space opera for 5 episodes in.
Oh, I have so many reasons to date Toei as somebody who cares too much about Dragon Ball. I'm sure watching Sentai will only make it worse.
Kamen Rider Geo voice. I'm sure blowing up Toei Studios would be even faster. But yeah, it was a decent enough movie. But also, on the other end of the spectrum, the currently airing front, I've been watching Gozyuger every week with a friend. That's been fun. Written by Akiko Inoue, daughter of Toshiki Inoue. I don't want to keep comparing the two, but it does feel like when she's writing this show, she's taking like some influence, because I do feel like there's Dawn Brothers energy to the show.
Right.
The Yellow Ranger is like a religious zealot for their mecha.
Oh, that's fun.
And also like runs the restaurant they live at, because it's a Toku show.
Right.
But also the best character in the show is the Green Ranger, where the premise of him is that he's an 80-year-old grandfather, who's like a stick in the mud, and like, well, for the family I have to be like the hard ass. But he's like, his wife was ill. He was like, I've never got to live for myself. I wish I could do my life over again and be the party animal I always wanted to be. And then he becomes the Green Ranger, which gives him youth, and so he looks like he's you got to get the young teenage / early 20s actor for these Toku shows, obviously.
Right.
But character wise, he's like trying to be what up, you fellow kids, exactly like that, while also can't help himself from being a stick in the mud, and also just always wearing the most gaudy grandpa ass outfits, and it's great. Here's this. I have this one clip from episode 5 that's just really good. Great.
Go for it.
I put it in the chat.
Okay, let me have a look. If it loads. Okay, yes. Oh, that's incredible.
He's for the audience's benefit, because I'm not gonna put this in. He rocks up with like this gaudy disco outfit, pulls out a boombox, and tries to put a cassette tape into the CD player, and then the Black Ranger, who's like 18, I think it's like her actress is 18. I don't know how old her character is, but she's pretty young, and she's like, I've literally never seen a cassette tape in my life. And then he's just like, what do you mean? They're like newer than vinyl, right? He's like never heard of a CD before.
Right.
It's like a show is good. The show is wild. It's fun because the premise seems to be is like doing. It almost feels like it's doing the Decade thing, in a weird way, where Decade was doing the anniversary thing where they did AU versions of the Rangers that were not had nothing to do with like the old shows, whereas Gokaiger and like Zio were more like we are getting back the old actual characters, and Gozyuger is doing like we have legacy Red Rangers, but like they're just like they're like new characters that happen to have the powers of the old Rangers. They're not like we're not getting the old guys back. Like the guy who is the Dawn Brothers Red Ranger is the Prime Minister of Japan.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's wild. I'm like, I don't know what they're doing, but it's fun. The guy who plays the Red Ranger, the guy who's like plays the Red Ranger from Zyuranger, comes in on like the classic dinosaur mech wearing a cape, and he's like, I'm a Sentai archaeologist, and I'm here to tell you why you need to learn the power of teamwork to be a proper Sentai team. And I'm watching because my friend, like, he's like new to Sentai, but he watched Power Rangers growing up. When he got like, oh yeah, the mecha that I remember from watching Mighty Morphin Power Rangers as a kid, I'm popping off like crazy.
Right.
So show is fun, show is chaotic, show is goofy. It's doing like a lot of like, definitely feels like it's a more serialized and puzzle boxy, even though there's obviously a monster of the week every week. But
right.
Yeah, it's been a fun show, and I'm glad it's good.
Yeah, I love it when shows are good.
Yeah. Actually, I love it when shows are bad and I feel miserable. That's why I went to watch Seed Freedom in theaters.
I don't want to talk about Seed Freedom. Oh,
I talked about Seed Freedom enough. You can go listen to whatever podcast that was in our Ace season or something.
Okay, sounds good. I'm glad you're not roping me into a conversation about fucking Gundam Seed Freedom.
I would never. No. I'm not getting finished, I thought. We don't need to. This is not a seed-friendly zone.
This is not a. Gundam Seed does not exist.
But yeah, I mean, like, yeah. I've been busy, so I haven't been able to watch too much, and, like, also because I'm, like, I'm the, I have the other podcast. I never know what to actually bring to talk about in this section.
Right, no, that's fair. That's why I think it's good that I'm just watching a bunch of Kamen Rider stuff.
Yeah. I end up having enough to say about Kamen Rider, because I actually don't get to talk about Rider as much these days, as it turns out.
Right.
But yeah, I guess you don't have anything else?
No, I think that's all. We can get on to the, main show, and we can talk about Agito next month.
Yeah, alright. So let's get in to the main event. so production history, this is a bit haphazard. Like, I only watched the movie yesterday, I think. And, like, I watched, like, the kind of like the production intro movie they have on the Blu-ray, and then I cursory glanced at the Wikipedia page on English Japanese. It was like, is there any additional detail here I should care about? Not really. It's like, this is gonna be a bit haphazard because I'm like, well, I've been writing essays mostly, so I don't have as much to really add, but I'm also like, there isn't a lot with this one. It's not like a big sprawling epic production history the way as like some of the other ones were. So, you know,
Right.
kind of straightforward.
That makes sense. We'll talk about this more when we get to the movie, but it feels like to me, it it feels like this is where they really settled into what their formula is.
I think that's probably fair. So to begin, last movie was a big success. However, for a bunch of reasons, it looks like the kaiju boom is maybe on its way out.
Can you tell me what those reasons are? Out of like, I'm just mildly curious.
I think it's just fads die out.
Right.
There's really
okay.
there's like, it does seem like you have like Ultra 7 kind of ending, like there's a hiatus for the Ultraman series at this point. Godzilla, Toei says they're gonna put the Godzilla series on hiatus. This year, I didn't actually look up the contemporaries this year. You know, it's fine. Let me just double check. Gonna annoy everyone. I'm not gonna edit this. Whatever. Fuck. Yeah. So this year is Destroy All Monsters, and it's like, well, this is supposed to be the end of the series. They're gonna actually make more of it, but don't worry about it. And I think also just like, if I remember correctly, like this is kind of like kaiju stuff and science fiction. We're kind of, this is just me. Remember, we're collecting stuff from like when we talked about Ultra 7 like 2 years ago on the main pod. Like the fad of like kaiju and ultra like sci-fi stuff was kind of dying down, and instead like horror, mystery, yokai stuff was starting to gain traction. I believe that this year, 1968, is when Dai puts out 2 out of 3 of the Yokai Monsters movie in their Yokai Monsters trilogy. That's Yokai Monsters, 100 Monsters, and Yokai Monsters Spook Warfare. I don't know if there's also like around the time Gege no Kitaro comes out, so that's probably also part of the same thing though. I know Gege Kitaro is like an old ass thing. Let's check. Lot of like off the cuff research here, just because I'm fucking.
No, that's fine. It doesn't sound like there was too much of a like big story to this one.
Yeah. It's just like, you know, fads die, new things, you know, trends, things happen.
I think you can kind of see the vision of like they're maybe trying to put, you know, we can talk about this more when we get to the movie part, but they're kind of like trying a bit to put some sci-fi stuff in this to like spruce it up a little, you know?
Yeah. Though also it's kind of like sci-fi stuff has been kind of like integral to the kaiju stuff at the beginning, so you know.
Right. I guess a different flavor of,
yeah, but like aliens.
Yes.
But anyway, yeah. So that's one thing. Like the boom seems to be dying, and also Dai is maybe not in the best financial straits at the moment for various reasons. I'm not entirely sure why, but you know. Either way, Nagata's like, you only get 1/3 of the budget for this movie. And Yasu's like, this sucks. Also Gamera not selling overseas. Like they weren't able to sell the next 2 movies overseas, really. So there's kind of like that, okay, this can like 0 money, and this is probably gonna be the last one, is the sense of it. That said, a company called American International Pictures comes in and is like, we will distribute those 2 movies and also help fund this new movie. However, there does need to be a new monster every movie because we ideally want a yearly franchise, probably, hopefully. And also,
Oh, is that why? Is that why this movie has an American child
yes, they also mandated that they have to have a white kid to appeal to the international audiences.
in
And
it?
so, at least for the next little bit, it's just gonna be like, yeah, there's gonna be a white kid in every movie. Nagata's
Sure,
like,
yeah, okay.
Nagata was like, yeah, sure, I'm still gonna only give them the third of the budget though, but yeah, this sounds good to me. And Yasu's like, well, okay, I guess I gotta get creative with like the budget we have. It's only like a third of the last movie, and also I think it was like he was given only half the normal film reel that you normally get in terms of length of film. I don't know how I don't know how that pans out, but it does mean, well, you can't. The case can't make a longer movie, which it turns out is true in this case. Running time was one of the sacrifices made because this movie's only like 72 minutes. Also, not a lot of shooting locations. One reason they designed the spaceship the way they did is like we could, if we make a modular spaceship, we can just make one set and then pretend it's the entire place. Like each room is like, reuse the rooms. And so like there was only a couple like sets. There was like the spaceship one, there was like the beach, and then there was also like the one lab kind of place. So not a lot of shooting locations either.
It makes the story feel kind of focused.
Yeah. There's a new producer, Kazubasa Nakano, who seemed to just be like, Yuasa's like, yeah, it sounds good. Seems to be on the same page. Nissan Takahashi was the writer once again. This movie features prominently the Boy Scouts. Apparently, they weren't a sponsor, so it didn't seem like they got paid. But also, Dai.
Oh wait, were those like actual
Boy
Scouts?
That was the actual Japanese Boy Scouts, and apparently Yuasa and Dai.
That's wild.
Yuasa shot in 1966 the promo video for the 4th Nihon Jamboree, Scouts Jamboree promo video, which for some reason was included on the Blu-ray for this movie as a bonus feature. And also Nagata was apparently an advisor to the Boy Scouts, so I guess, we know how his ethics by now, so,
Right.
Apparently the sub they made for the kids to go in was made by the company HBW. I have to double check that, but apparently they made U-boats for the Germans in the war. That's cool.
We love to see it.
Apparently this submarine was not seaworthy, so they actually had to film all the submarine stuff on land, which is probably just smart, to be honest. But the white kid in question is played by Carl Craig, who was like a kid of like a guy stationed on an airport on a base. Chosen not because he was necessarily a good actor, but because they needed a kid who could actually speak Japanese, and he fit the bill. He's pretty good, honestly. We got some returning faces. Once again, we have Kojiro Hondo, who was like the lead guy in the past movies. Here he's the Scoutmaster Shimada. Though I think I heard that this is like maybe his final role in the franchise.
That's a shame.
Then we have Yoshihiro Kitahara, who is Masao, one of our Kid Heroes' dad. He previously played Toshio's dad in the first movie, as well as the professor in both the second and third movie. Also, there was
I could tell that some of these when I was watching this, I'm like, some of these actors look familiar.
I didn't confirm, but like there was the guy who's like the head of the military, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that's Onodero's actor from the second movie.
Right.
I think like we have like the same suit actor for Teruo Aragaki for Gamera. I don't know who the suit actor for Viras, to be honest, but he was designed by Shigeo Amano. Originally named after Cuttlefish. Apparently was named Viras because of a public naming contest that Yuasa later admitted was actually staged and it wasn't actually a real contest.
That's fucked up.
Lying to the kids. Apparently, sculptor Masayagi felt this is one of the most impressive kaiju he's made for the series. There was the new theme song, Gamera's March, by Kenjo Hirose. This is kind of like the famous Gamera March that's like associated with the series, and also was parodied in Mystery Science Theater when they did covered the Gamera movies in Mystery Science Theater. I've never seen Mystery Science Theater, and I don't think I care to be honest.
Yeah, that's fair.
Also, I should mention again that as will seem to be the case for like the foreseeable future, Yuasa is once again both the director and special effects director doing double duty, and also this movie was filmed within 25 days. And he was tired. He was like, I am dead, I am worn out, but I'm able to take on all this because at the end of the day, I know, much like me doing my papers at the end of the semester, just before graduation, this was the final Gamera movie for sure, and I'll be all over after this. And that's how I can able to get over the finish line. And then the movie was a big hit, and American International wanted more movies, and he's like, well, I guess I gotta make more movies.
I was gonna say, I really enjoyed this like short 4-month podcast, mini series. It would be really cool if they someday made more of these.
Yeah. I think since the last time I recorded, they also like Kadokawa put out the new Twitter account for the Gamera 60th anniversary. I think I showed that to you.
Right.
I think our podcast logo is cooler than that one.
That's fair.
It's more. I put more effort into it. Yeah. Also, this movie uses a bunch of reused footage, I guess for budget reasons, but also they need to pad out the length for American distributors. So that's. Some of it is audacious.
I mean, it's a pretty short movie,
yeah.
So maybe they.
Yeah. Yeah, that's basically it. There isn't a lot to this one. I mean, it's just it's pretty straightforward, honestly. I guess in that case, yeah, that's basically it. We're gonna have another movie next month. Crazy. There's 12 of these.
So at this point, have they like finalized their pipeline into
I'm not sure because they sure thought this was gonna be the last one. So I guess we'll see for the next.
Right. I guess if that were to happen, it would be.
Like just looking at their spreadsheet, we got like 3 more movies in a row after this before a gap, so they got some pipeline going, and they're yearly releases, so for now, should I do my poem, my summary?
Go for it.
The one I did like 1 minute before you hit call, because I'm busy.
That's fine.
Anyway, here's the summary poem for Gamera versus Virus. Why are there Boy Scouts? Invaders brainwash our friend. We love old footage. Will the world blow up 2 boys? That big squid sure can stab good.
I think you did good. You hit every beat.
Yeah, I did my best. I tried to be holistic with this one.
Not too much happens in this movie, so it's not too hard.
It's a short movie. It's pretty straightforward with some weird quirks.
Yes.
But should we get into it? Should we get into this brief movie? So there's a bee-looking spaceship in space. from the planet Virus, and it's like, we're gonna conquer Earth because it's like the most like Earth, and then Gamera comes and fucks their shit up, and it's like, oh, we need backup. That's
Yes, I did think that sequence was like a pretty fun way to start the movie. Just
yeah, you get
Gamera
like
fucking some shit up.
yeah, you also definitely like leading into, we need a set piece to get the kids right away. As we saw in the last movie, he you need Gamera on screen right away, so the kids are all hooked, and we can actually like build the thing. We get some cool shots of like Gamera like busting its face into the spaceship and then like setting on fire. But also like there's cool stuff like the spaceship tries to put out the jets with like a fire extinguisher kind of stuff. And there's like the scene ends in a really fun note as like the aliens try and like broadcast to like their home planet, like, the Earth that has a strong guardian and his name is, and it cuts the title card, and I was like, oh, that's cute.
Yes.
And that's when you get the first playing of the Gamera March plays, Gamera, etc., etc. And then we get the weirdest thing in my experience so far, when you fucking get the Boy Scouts Jamboree. And I was like, what do you mean the fucking Boy Scouts are in this movie?
Yeah, I was like, huh? Okay, sure.
First of all, I didn't even know Japan had Boy Scouts. I guess maybe I should expect it because of Americans, but it is wild to me. And once again, seeing our friend Kojiro Hondo as Scoutmaster Shimada. The other wild one for me is he's not a named character, but there's a scout who blows a whistle, who's actor recognized as Saburo Shidada, who is notable because he played a weird boat guy in one episode of Ultraman Ace, and then afterwards immediately played the protagonist of Ultraman Taro, Kotaro Higashi. I don't know, what are you doing here, weird cryptid man? He does not matter to this movie at all. He has no name. But him, through like me knowing him as a known quantity in Ultraman, it was just weird going like, what the fuck? I didn't expect to see this movie. It's this guy for reference, right? Just because you haven't seen Ultraman Taro before. So
let me have a look. Yes, I remember this guy from like One Shot.
Yeah. So imagine him as like Ultraman, and he starts doing Shadow of the Colossus shit like a fucking cartoon man, because that's the tone of Ultraman Taro. So basically have a roll call, but this is how we introduce our two main protagonists, Masao and Jim, our token white boy, where they're both like sneaking around and they fuck with a submarine that's being built, that we find out is later like the kid's it's like a submarine built by the professor of this movie. It's like meant to be a submarine that kids can drive, but because, as we find out, Masao is Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, he fucks with the controls as a prank, so it does reverse. He inverts the controls of the submarine for laughs.
This was a kind of funny stylistic thing to me, because in the other kind of Gamera movies I've seen so far, the children are kind of just normal children.
Yeah.
So it definitely felt like a jump, going from that to Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, as you put it.
Yeah, and I wonder if some of that's just like, if we're gonna have kids the protagonist in every movie, we want to differentiate it. Also, you asked as usual. Right. You may recall from last time, but he's also on record for this movie, he wants to go for that fairy tale logic, so maybe some of that like fantastical element is for the fun of it, is also just there, like maybe just but yeah, he gets called by like his sister name. What's her name? Is she important?
No, she's not important.
Yeah, Mariko. I wrote down exactly once. She's like she has a wrist communicator, which she uses throughout this movie to call him. Because they're mostly separated. And they get called back, and then they're like, oh, we're gonna do the submarine, and then there's a fun little Thunderbirds-esque sequence as the submarine goes into the water. We see the professor he's in the cockpit with the scoutmaster, and they try and pilot the machine, but it goes the wrong ways because the controls are broken, so they're having a time of it. And then they pull up and it's like, well, kids, the controls are a bit fucked, so we'll have to do this another time. Masao is like, well, actually, I'm Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, asterisk, I fuck with controls. So I can do it better than the professor can, and somehow is able to convince everyone to let him pilot it, despite the fact the professor's like, there's something wrong with this machine, I don't think it's safe. But don't worry about it. This is not a movie with adult logic.
No, absolutely not.
And with that, we basically, the kids go into the, Jim and Masao start piloting this submarine. And of course, they know how it works because they're the ones who toyed with it. And as they go through, they meet Gamera and have a little race. And they tell everyone, hey, we see Gamera down here. And Jim starts his thing where he just slips in just random stock English rages every once in a while.
Yup.
And meanwhile, the aliens are like, all right, we're back. We have to enslave Gamera or else we won't be able to take over Earth because Gamera will kick our ass. And there's a little bit where they try and take pictures of Gamera so as proof they're not pranking people. And then because dark, it doesn't actually develop into good pictures. So they're like, are you pranking us? But then Gamera shows up when the aliens do. So, actually, no, wait, no. What happens first? I forgot something. The aliens show up and then put Gamera in a force field bubble, which also happens to trap the kids. And then Gamera lifts up the bottom of the bubble to let the kids out because they're running out of oxygen, and then the bubble eventually fades away in 15 minutes. And because the bubble only lasts 15 minutes, the aliens we got to use this 15 minutes to read his memories in order to figure out his weakness, and they make a clip show for about 5 minutes. Not 5 minutes, 2 minutes, but it's a lot of we're just getting the footage from the first few movies.
Yes. It's a bit unfortunate to put those in here because those fights are all better than the fights in this movie.
Don't worry about it. It is funny that just because of how it was made, the first movie footage is still in black and white. I'll bring this up again in the future. Put a pin in that. Okay. And also, it's really funny when we get the clip of Gamera rescuing the kid from the last movie, and he parks his shell in front of the Ferris wheel, and we get the shot of Kojiro Hondo from that previous movie rescuing the kid, and I'm like, that actor is also in this movie. I don't think you should do this. I think I would have used different footage.
No, I think I wonder if there are crackpot Gamera fandom people who try to connect all the actors as being the same character going through different life phases.
This reminds me. Do you know the Toku actor Kenji Oba?
Not by name.
He was mostly a show era guy.
Okay.
But let me. He played I think in Battle Fever J, Battle Kenya. He played the Blue Denza Man, and then he played Spaceship Gavan. All those were 3 years in a row. And in one Sentai Metal Heroes crossover anniversary thing, I think when Go Kaiju airs, they have this shot of him where he just plays himself 3 times in the same shot as all his three
okay,
roles.
That's pretty good. I'm a big fan of this.
And it reminds me of this. It's like, oh yeah, you just have this guy in 2 roles in the same movie. That's weird. Also, this clip show is also weird because it only does the first and the third movie, and we don't get versus Baragon at all. And I forget if we actually get any footage from that movie in this movie. We might, but it didn't stand out to me as much. Oh wait, no, we do. We'll get back to that. Yeah, so this is the point where like Jim tries to show like his Polaroids, and it's like, well, I guess it was dark down there, and the film didn't develop. But then the Gamera shows up in 2 seconds, so this conflict doesn't matter. But the aliens then put the kids in the bubble, and so they were being held hostage by the aliens because they're like, oh yeah, because the Gamera's a friend to the children. That's his weakness. And so they're like, okay, we're gonna kill the kids unless you do as we say. So the Gamera does as they say, and then Masao and Jim are where they're transported into the ship, where they spend a good chunk of the movie. They're just exploring around, having adventures, and they see weird guys who look like just normal Japanese guys walking around, and like, oh, are these captives like us? Who are these guys? And it's like weird like anti-gravity tunnels that like the aliens can use because they're aliens. Surprise! But the kids can't use; so they have to walk. That's a fun detail. How do you feel about the set, by the way? I like the set of this spaceship.
Yeah, I do too. It's I feel like it's really creatively made. It has a good vibe to it.
Yeah, I think the fact they're able to like make it look like multiple rooms of the same ship despite using the same set is cool. Like I wasn't surprised when I heard that like it was the same set they just reused, but I also didn't think about it too much. I was like, oh, that's cool. But yeah, they're in this ship, and so what happens is the aliens like basically brainwash Gamera by putting a little bug on his head, and the spaceship has cool screens that have folding effects. That's also cool. That's another thing we talk about. There's a lot of hexagons in the ship. And like now Gamera's under control. They're being sent to rampage around, and the kids are slowly exploring the ship, having free reign temporarily. And they kind of realize the ship runs autonomously. Whenever it's like, damn, I'm thirsty, and they get juice. Damn, I'm hungry, and they get sandwiches. Which I saw in like a special video like on the DVD of like they got Craig, Jim's actor, back after 52 years. And he was like, yeah, the sandwich is terrible. Just funny. But they try and use the ship to telepathy to like if the ship does what we want with our minds, maybe we can get it to free us or free Amber. And then the aliens show up was like when an alarm goes off, and we kind of see this is where they get like a weird effect where the human bodies of the aliens are silhouetted, but they have like a weird glowing eye stuff that's really creepy looking. And I think it's a cool effect. They're like, this telepathy only works for inconvenient things, but not like the important things, because it's fail-safe, so it doesn't threaten us. If you don't behave yourself, you'll be, we're letting you walk free for now, but behave yourself. And they basically just like continue on like this until they like basically stumble upon a weird room with a squid. And this technically, we find out later, our final boss, but we don't know it for now.
Yeah.
And he's first using a cage, and he just seems like a little friend. They're like, oh, is he a captive like us? Does he put us in the zoo? And they kind of divide on whether to let him out, because it's like, well, if it's a monster, would you let a lion out of the cage? But on the other hand, like maybe, he's a friend. But also they can't actually find the lock to do it. So they go and try and they try to catch one of the aliens to find the key-ish to open the thing, and instead he's like, well, I guess now you're just gonna be bound to the wall. And he does this in the weirdest way where he I guess he telepathically launches them against the wall, and also because Jim has a whip which he uses for reasons, I don't know, it's his thing. He whips the alien's arm, and then the arm comes off and it comes back, and he just kind of laughs at them, and it's weird and creepy. But then they get basically cuffed to the wall and have to figure a way out of there. And this is where we get some more reused footage, where we get the aliens being like, hey, Gamera, blow up the dam, and then they reuse the dam footage from
Oh,
Gamera vs. Paragon.
I died. I died so much. So
They had no money on this movie.
they
I'm like,
really did not.
like I saw that, like, the thing where, like, you know, you have the superimposed footage of, like, the guys on the bottom corner, and I was like, oh, it's the same footage from the fucking movie. The thing that I liked so much from that one damn scene, and it's the distinguishing feature that makes me know this reused footage. And then after they redo the dam sequence, the alien's like, okay, now go to Sir Tokyo. And when was the last time Gamera was in Tokyo? That's right, in the first movie, in black and white. So we get footage of Gamera rampaging in Tokyo in black and white.
In black and white. They couldn't even afford it.
They couldn't even colorize it. And I'm like, I wouldn't watch Gamera colorized, but if you're going to reuse the footage, then it's unreal. How did... It's just like, they're like, oh, we're using the footage and treating it like it's actually happening now. But how does that work when it's in black and white?
It's so bad. It's so awful.
It's so scuffed. I feel bad for Yuasa.
I do too. I can understand, like, I'm sure working on making this must have been hell.
This just, you know, like, I had a good time in this movie, but this is, you know, it's not up there. Like, I don't think it's bad per se as a thing to watch that's enjoyable, but it's, you know, not the best put together because of the constraints. In a way, it's like, it's entertaining in spite of itself, I'd say.
Right.
And so Masao gets a call from his sister and says, hey, Gamera's brainwashed. He's kind of wondering what's up with the squid guys. We get the military, you know, the aliens announce, hey, we're going to use Gamera to take over the world. You have to surrender. Also, we have the kids hostage. We get the military getting ready for the standard operation. I guess it turns out we don't actually have an operation in this movie, I think, but we do have to have the obligatory military guys preparing for operations scene.
Yes, but they don't actually do an operation.
Yeah, what they do is, like, Jim and Masao's parents come in, and Jim's mom clearly does not speak Japanese and had to dub her over again with someone else. Is very obvious, and it's very funny.
Yes.
But they're talking to the parents, and they're like, the choice is, do we sacrifice these two boys for the whole of the planet, or do we surrender to save two children? And then the kids, well, first they do some rope tricks to, like, slip out of the bonds. And then they're like, don't worry about us. We'll sacrifice ourselves to the kids. It's okay. And Jim's mom cries out in bad, dubbed over Japanese. And then the UN calls and is like, we have decided to surrender the Earth to save the two boys. And I saw an anecdote that says Hayao Miyazaki watched this movie and was like, that's unrealistic.
That's so funny.
It's really funny.
Come on, bro. You know this is operating on, like, children logic.
Calm down, my guy. You're so grouchy.
No fucking way. Unironically, I think that's the funniest thing I've learned in our process of doing this podcast.
He's like cinema sensing this fucking kids movie. What a fucking loser.
Oh my god.
I've not watched much Miyazaki movies. I probably never will. But this does sound in character for him as just like a stick in the mud old man.
Yeah. Oh my god.
But at this point, the Scoutmaster, he calls him. It's like, hey, remember how you pranked us by reversing the controls of the submarine? And the professor's like, don't scold. That is now the time to scold them for this. He's like, no, listen, don't worry about it. What if you reversed the controls of the spaceship so that it undid Gamera's brainwashing with your prank powers. I'm sure you can do that, Jimmy Neutron Boy Any Genius. And Masao's like, yeah, I can. And then just like he's Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, he's like, yeah, I'm sure it'll work so I reverse the polarity, is the thing he basically says. Like, he doesn't use the exact words, but it's basically what he says. He's like, reverse the current of the beams and stuff like that. It's like, oh, this is some real Dexter's Lab Jimmy Neutron shit. I never liked Jimmy Neutron as a kid.
Yeah, it wasn't one of the shows that ever, like, super grabbed me.
It was a show I watched because I was the kind of kid who was like, I guess because I wasn't as gaming as much as a kid outside of Pokemon, I was like, well, the cartoon is on the TV, so I'll watch it. But also, I'm like, there was an unpleasantness to Jimmy Neutron that I didn't get from Dexter's Lab. I like Dexter's Lab.
Right.
But something about Jimmy Neutron
I
rubbed me the way.
I know, I gotcha. I was never much of a Nick kid, I think. Like, I think SpongeBob sort of has this, like, ubiquitous, like, kind of, like, cultural relevance to, like, people of a certain age.
Yeah, SpongeBob is, like, late millennial, early Zoomer Simpsons, basically. That's culture cachet it has.
Yeah. Yes, basically. But, like, otherwise, I was never particularly big on the Nick shows.
I think I was like nonpartisan as far as this goes. Like, there's a lot of Nick shows I identified heavily with, and there was a lot of like Cartoon Network shows I identified heavily with. Like I like Powerpuff, I like Foster's, but also I like SpongeBob. I like at the time I liked Fairly Odd Parents. I liked. This is a show I need to go back and actually watch, but I do think My Life as a Teenage Robot probably influenced me a lot. Even though it was in a show I was like, one of those shows where it was like, I didn't get a chance to watch as much as I liked, but like the times I did watch it, it was like, oh, this is doing something to my brain. But yeah, Jimmy Neutron is kind of icky. You heard it here first. Anyway. Gamera is told to annihilate humanity, but then the kids basically do like the most the squid got out, guys, and they just listen instead of like, oh, the kids are caught, and they go and the kids just like fuck with all the computers, and then it works, and then it like we reverse the beam that puts us back on Earth, and they run away, and then the aliens were like, well, how'd they get out? And they're like, order Gamera to attack the kids, and then Gamera's like, nah. Gamera starts attacking the ship, and this is where I realized, damn, this movie really is short. We're almost done already. I was like normally with these, I usually watch them in 2 seconds, but this one I just watched in 1 second because it's really, really short. And so at this point, Gamera's like busting the ship up. He manages to dislodge the little bug on his head, and then the aliens go into the squid room and are like, this is the only safe room, and then they reveal the squid is their boss, and the squid can talk, and they're like, boss, we need your help. I don't know why we need to appeal to you, or why you're in a cage, and why you couldn't have just been out here kicking ass to begin with, but we're hitting you as the last resort. And then the boss says, okay, for the glory of our planet, Viras, we need to kill Gamera, but I need all of your lives, and he cuts off all the guys' heads, and then little alien tentacles come out, and then Masao's like, oh, they're all aliens in people bodies they took hostage. And then there's a really bad special effects sequence as we get all of the alien bodies like assimilating into the boss, like a really bad cardboard cutouts almost being slided across the screen, and then the boss grows big. And it's time for the big fight when there's like 10 minutes left of the movie.
And they don't have money, so it's not like the big fight, looks particularly good, by genre standards.
Like, it's basically the kids are off screen cheering on Gamera. There's a lot of like dragged into the sea, throwing rocks and stuff like that. Gamera gets lobbed a bunch. Viras has like torpedo mode, and it skewers Gamera at some point. No, what happens is Gamera, there's a lot of like going back and forth. Gamera manages to take it into the ocean and rides it like a jet ski, but then it runs aground and Gamera flips on its back, and that's how Virus starts skewering it in the gut, and it's really bloody and gory and fucked up. But then Gamera starts like using his jets to, while impaled, fly up into the sky, and once he's in the atmosphere, Virus starts freezing, and then he flips upside down and spins to dislodge Virus, and Virus like hits the ocean and explodes, and everyone's like, "Yeah, the day's saved," and then Gamera leaves.
And then the movie ends.
Yeah, the movie. Yeah.
When I was watching this, I was like, I feel like most movies would have even a couple minutes of like wrap up or whatever,
I mean, I guess like I don't know how much of the last one have a wrap up, and I mean not much, but like
no, but
I guess also
have,
like
at least a little bit.
Like I think probably it helps because like they dragged out, they kind of like had Gyaos being dragged to the volcano, and that kind of like helped drag out the finale a bit, and so a little bit more like you can sit on it a bit more. This one is like you get an extended sequence of Virus falling and then it explodes, and it's like, well, the movie's done. I guess it also doesn't help that Virus, as like the kaiju that is fought, is like in like the last 10 minutes. Like even though he shows up earlier, he's only in the last 10 minutes when we actually the actual kaiju fight. And there's a lot of reviews for
right.
it is
I honestly wasn't even sure if they were gonna have Gamera fight Virus. I thought they were just gonna have Gamera fight a spaceship, which I thought would have been kind of neat. But
I figured they had to, but I was also like, it's getting really close. When are they gonna have a fight? It's. I did see the next movie is like more close to an hour and a half, which is nice. But yeah, this one's like a real.
This is a real budget movie.
This is the ice suit movie. Perhaps literally with the way like Virus dies, but yeah, it is like, they had nothing. And I guess, and you know what, I still enjoy myself, so kudos to being able to pull off what they were able to. But it does, like, you can't. There's only so much you can like pop up this movie in terms of like this is clearly like a step down for the other ones, I'd say.
Yeah, I think so. Like, something I like to like try to do when I'm watching like children's movies and stuff is I try to put myself in the mindset of like, if I was a kid, would I think this is going hard, or would I just be like, okay, this one is fine, like I'm having fun because I'm a kid and I have fun with most things, but it's not one of the ones like even as a kid, if you like most things, you still probably have favorites or things that you like more than other things.
Yeah, Will Smith voice. Do y'all have fun? We got hype and horror moments.
This movie does not have hype and horror moments.
No, it doesn't.
They don't have.
It does
they
have...
don't have money for hype and horror moments.
No, at best they can like reuse old hype and horror moments, including ones that are in black and white, I guess.
Yes,
don't worry about high classes.
Yes, I think if I was like a kid and you gave me like a DVD box set with like all the Gamera movies or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I think this would be one of the ones that I would watch significantly less often than the others.
I do think the movie has whimsy though, and that helps.
That is true.
I think like a strong point, the fact of the matter is, I think Masao and Jim are a highlight of the movie. Like a lot of the movie is just like not there because they don't have much to work with. But I do think that for what it's worth, like Masao and Jim having adventures on the spaceship and doing like MacGyver shit is pretty fun. And it works for me.
Yes. The spaceship stuff is really fun. Though I do think it's very funny how Jim is like, token American child.
Just got like English phrases. Yeah, and like I guess if nothing else, if there's like the formula going forward is gonna be like a couple of kids having adventures, then at the very least like. Maybe when they have more material to work with, like I said, the next movie's like a little longer in length, then like it'll help a lot more, in terms of like if there's a good dynamic duo, and also the Gamera stuff's a bit more like has more time to be fleshed out, we get like more of a stint thing. We aren't just like 5% of the movie is old movie footage. Then it's 5% or 10% actually. No, to be honest, it's a lot.
Oh god, it felt like longer than that.
Like I guess like the part where they're like reading his mind at the start of the movie isn't long, but then like they do the entire dam sequence from the second movie because they just are doing that again, and then the extended oh my goodness, there's so much. It's crazy. This is how you make a movie.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for you. What the fuck is wrong with you, Nakata? There's lots of things wrong with you.
I'm still thinking about the fucking Miyazaki story you just told me.
What the fuck is wrong with you, Miyazaki? Jesus Christ.
Yes, what the fuck is wrong with Miyazaki, like, more than anyone else?
Yeah.
Oh, obviously, in real life, the United Nations would have murdered the children. Me watching a children's movie, like...
Yeah. Me having opinions about the UN Security Council in my whimsical kids movie.
Yes, it's not like it's. I don't think it's a bad movie, but I think there are better whimsical kid movies out there, including Gamera 1 and Gamera 3.
Yeah, that's for sure. And it's like,
Gamera 2 does not really count as a whimsical kid
movie. That is not a whimsical movie at all.
No, absolutely not.
The inherent whimsy of Onodera murdering like 3 people. You can tell the movie has no whimsy because it has an actual ending where like the protagonist reflects on like what the fuck happened. That was bad. Unlike this one, he goes, "Oh, bye, Gamer."
So true.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess when you get down to it, like, yeah, there isn't much, is there? Like, how about that fucking Gamera barbecue kebab?
Yeah, I don't really know what else there is to talk about here. I kind of went in with the expectation that this would be a bit of a shorter episode, which is maybe it's good that we had 40 minutes of Kamen Rider talk about it.
Like, I'm like, is there more to say? And like, obviously, because it's a shorter movie, there won't be as much. But I'm also like,
it's a shorter movie where so much of it is recycled footage, and also they have 2 sets to work with.
Yeah. Like, we are, like, it is what it is. It's, I'm just running in circles now. Yeah, I think we basically exhausted everything there is to say about this movie, other than like, I guess the Squid's all right.
Squid's fine. It's probably going at the bottom of the Kaiju tier list.
Yeah, I guess we can go with the Kaiju tier list now.
Yeah, the structure of the movie does not really give the Squid any time to like leave an impression on you.
I just realized the last movie we were like, oh no, I hope that like each movie doesn't put like a increasingly lower kaiju on the list, and this has happened 4 movies in a row. All right, let's just talk about the tier list. Gamera and S still our boy.
Yeah. There's no point in doing a Gamera tier list where Gamera is not an S.
Baragon. A tier still?
Baragon, A tier still.
Okay. How about Gyaos? Is moving up? Still B?
No, I think B is good.
Okay. Where's Viras going? Is he B but lower, or is he in C? What do you think?
tell me a good reason not to put in D.
He's that bad?
There
He's
he doesn't leave
he's got like
he
he's got
doesn't.
those weird eyes that are constantly going up and down.
That's true. That's true.
I do think turning into a torpedo skewer squid is kind of neat. I do think there is like a floppiness that comes from anything with tentacles. I imagine they're just kind of hard to
Right.
do. Masao seemed to like the kaiju, but I don't know if it's like, it's still, the other guys are still cooler. That's still also true. I guess I'm not sure.
Okay, let's say C for now, and
Okay.
we can maybe put them up or down depending on how future kaiju go.
All right. Well, I hope.
Hear
Okay.
me out here.
Okay.
I was just thinking about this like moral dilemma thing of like, do you utilitarianism the children to save the earth?
Yeah.
And here's another way you can think about it if you're like Miyazaki and you need like rational logic in your children's movie. Uh, if Gamera, friend to all children, finds out that they killed children to save the Earth, do you think he's gonna be happy about that?
That's true. That's true.
Like, theoretically, it is possible that if they had done that, Gamera would have just attacked the Earth anyway.
That's true. Maybe this is that. Maybe that'd be the inciting incident for Gamera's actual rampage.
Right.
This is why.
Yeah. Oh, I do have one other thought. It's really
Okay.
interesting to me that Gamera is like so entrenched in the role of hero now that to have scenes of him destroying cities and shit, brackets reused scenes, uh, you need to have him be mind controlled.
Oh yeah, that's also true. That is also funny. It has been like only one movie since he became a hero, but they are very like he they are very entrenched in this, and like, well, he cannot be the villain anymore.
Right, right. Like at this point, I think they've really settled into their formula.
Yeah, but I actually had not considered that yet. But yes, it is like Gamera destroying the cities is like not a thing he would do unless he was mind controlled. Even though he also did this like 2 movies ago. And these all came out
Yeah.
like in a row in terms of like yearly releases. So, yeah, strange times ahead. As of who knows what Dai's future financial situation is. We got like 4 movies of the Showa era, 3 of them in a row, and then a gap. And then I guess
Right.
that by that point we'll be like over the halfway point of this series, basically.
Yeah, because there are only 4 Heisei ones.
Yeah, and then we'll see, I guess, about the miniseries on Netflix. Reiwa Gamer. Guess so. Do you have any final thoughts, or should we just go into the plugs, the outro?
I think those were my final thoughts.
All right. In that case, if you'd like to follow the main feed, this podcast feed, you can go to Ultra Q. Let me redo that. You can follow on Twitter at ultra_Q or all at ultraQ no underscore on Blue Sky. We have an email account. No one has sent any Gamera emails, but I guess I didn't tell anyone this week that we were doing recording. It's fine. ultrapod@gmail.com. You can follow me at DickRounds on Twitter and Blue Sky. Catherine, plug yourself.
Yeah, I'm on at KimiCatherine.bluesky.social. I have a itch.io page, Mismatched Wings, where there is currently only one visual novel, but hopefully there will be more on there soon. And
Soon.tm.
Soon.tm. One before we finish doing this podcast, I hope.
Hopefully. Um, Alright, so next time, the horror movie in May. That movie is going to be Gamera versus Giron. So look forward to
Alright,
that.
I'm excited to see what Giron looks like.
I know what he looks like, but I'm not going to say anything about this.
No, I'll see it when I watch the movie.
But yeah, I want to give your sign off, if you remember it.
Oh God, I forgot to remember the song. I'll see you in the depths of Atlantis.
Alright, and I'll see you in Shell.
Okay, I'm saying words. The blue line is showing up. I think we're good.
I love blue. Well, no,
Me
wait,
too.
no. I just remember the thin blue line. I was like, no, not that one. That big squid shuriken stabbed me. That's the end of it. Are you there?
Yes, I wasn't really sure what to say about it. I think you did good. You hit every beat.